sailboat in the moonlight and June. Wouldn't that be heaven? Oh, heaven just for two. A soft breeze on a June night and June. What a perfect setting for letting dreams come true.
So, welcome to Virtual Happy Hour, guys.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we should give you guys a little cheer over here.
Yay!
Cheers.
I'm Maddie.
And I'm Herbie.
And we're from the YouTube channel Rigging Doctor. And we are actually currently on your boat
Yes.
virtually.
And
But
we're so happy to have you.
Yeah.
But we're actually in Austria right now. We are stuck.
Yeah.
Oh.
Landlocked Austria.
Yeah.
Get up there by boat somehow.
Our boat is in Spain right now, waiting patiently for us to be able to legally return across the borders.
Yeah, but it's just
Wow.
everything with the lockdown, we just decided to wait here.
Yeah.
Is she on the hard?
No.
She is not. She's in the water. We've got the bilge pump is hopefully working really well, and well, hopefully we're just not taking on any water.
Yeah, we left her for 2 months, went back to the States to visit family, and when we came back, the bilge was dry and dusty. So I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I've
that's,
never had a boat that had a dry and dusty bilge, so you've done
I
well.
know, us either. Well,
We
I
were
think it's,
very pleasantly surprised.
yeah, so we haven't had any waves coming over the deck, so therefore the bilge will stay dry.
Yeah, it helps. It helps when you don't go anywhere for a long period of time.
Yeah. Now your boat's a Morgan, right?
That's
Yeah.
right. A Morgan
45
from 1968.
So it's a Morgan Classic 45.
Exactly,
Yes.
not the Out Island.
Yeah. A couple of unique things about you guys is, first of all, you took the engine out. And you went
Yes.
electric. Maybe you can tell us about how that all came about.
Sure,
Well,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, a couple of
so-
unique things. We're crazy.
Yeah. So it was a date. Maddie had her good friend over visiting at the boat, and I'm like, hey, you know what'll really win them all over? A boat cruise through the inner harbor. So we were leaving, and then the transmission got stuck in reverse and wouldn't come out of reverse to go into neutral or forward. So I just shut it down, and thankfully the wind blew us right back into the slip. So her friend thought this was normal, and
We were like,
yeah.
So we decided instead of fixing the motor or getting a new diesel, we would replace it with an electric for a multitude of reasons. Number one being we're just trying to be a little more environmentally friendly. And number two, we really kind of follow the very classic sailing philosophy of sailing and not necessarily motoring as much as possible. So we don't really use the motor at all unless we're going in and out of slips.
Yeah, it's pretty much just for in the marina.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we
Wow.
just wait.
So we
And,
have watched, now I've watched more of your shows than Debbie has, but I want to say of all the YouTube channels we watch, yours is her favorite.
Oh,
thanks.
thank you.
You may have to edit that
So
out.
happy I could disappear.
I love your personalities. I just
Yeah.
think you're so real, and I think you're both really cute. Sorry.
Aw. Honestly, like this for us is just kind of it's
Like a diary.
It's like a diary, yeah, like a journal. So we got to show everything, and hopefully people can learn from our mistakes the way we
Yep.
have, and you know.
And that happens to everybody, I'm sure, but we don't always see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you sailed some of the same areas we did, and you're from Baltimore, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah. So you from Baltimore, so you're Chesapeake sailors.
that's right.
Yeah. And we bought this boat, the one you're on right now. We bought that at Rock Hall, Maryland, not too far from
Oh
you.
no way.
Yeah.
Where are you all from? You're from Canada,
I'm
right?
from Canada, yeah.
From
Yeah.
Ontario,
Yeah.
Lake Ontario.
Oh, great.
So
That's a
we had
beautiful
an
area.
Aloha 32, and we sailed to the Bahamas and back.
Yeah.
And all the time we were sailing, we were looking for a bigger boat. And we didn't find one until our return trip, and we stopped in Rock Hall, and there was this Bristol sitting in the back of a boatyard there. and we ended up buying it and selling our boat and refitting the Bristol and sailing it home. So we're very proud of Chesapeake. Yeah.
That was really hectic, and boy, Maryland's really, really hot.
Yes.
It gets awful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbearable.
And the flies on the Chesapeake in the summer,
Yeah.
really bad.
Thank goodness. Then I would have been. Oh, that would have put me over.
I gotta know, what's your favorite thing that you saw in the Chesapeake?
Oh, I really liked Reedsville or Reedville.
Yeah,
Windover.
we were
Yeah.
there. We were there for a
love
while, actually. Yeah.
And I think that one of my favorite parts of our whole trip was the Chesapeake. I could spend
Really?
the whole 5 years there. I mean, you still see new things.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
Well, we went through in the
So
cold
much to
weather,
see.
right? So we left at the end of the C&D Canal. What's that little town there?
Albert.
Not Chester, not Wharton. It's way up. It's the top of the bay.
Yeah, at the top of the bay. So we left there and sailed in it was like 25 knots every day.
Yep.
In the
Oh, yeah.
fall, this is in November, October, actually.
Oh yeah, Herbie went
So-
on a fun little sail in November one time. That was
Yeah.
spirited.
Yeah, her brother was studying abroad in London, and then her whole family went to celebrate Thanksgiving with him. So I was alone on the boat, and I'm like, well, guess I'm sailing to Annapolis. And it was very spirited.
It was
Very
not,
cool.
not a good idea.
Yeah, I went there, anchored. The next morning, I made eggs, and then sailed back to Baltimore.
Wow.
Well, kudos to you for sailing the Chesapeake in the fall.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very spirited.
Well, anyway, we did sort of the standard stuff. Reedville was one of them. We've been twice to Rock Hall. We went to Annapolis twice.
Mhm.
We went to Solomon's twice. So there and back, of course, right?
Solomon's is so pretty.
Yeah.
It is. I found the anchoring there was really hard to. It's very
Horrible.
Horrible
Yeah.
holding.
Yeah.
Awful.
We
It's
dragged
like
a lot.
goopy mud.
Yeah, and we slowly dragged, over
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
So we'd anchor in 3 or 4 days. We were, we'd reset the anchor and do it again.
Yeah, it's progressive dragging, and you're never really sure if you're dragging because it happens so slowly. Are we dragging?
Exactly. Yeah. You'll wake up and look out and be like, was that bush that close last night?
Yeah.
You guys have good memories for anchorages. I'm like, there was wine there.
Well,
I remember.
speaking of anchorages, now the Eastern Seaboard, you did the whole thing. I mean, what were the highlights there for you guys?
Oh,
Oriental,
man.
North Carolina.
Yeah. We had a lot of
Good for you, us
highlights
too, yeah.
along the way.
Did you?
We loved.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was wondering if you were an Oriental. Did you meet that? She's an older woman who comes down and talks to people, and she sailed the Shannon 28 across the Atlantic solo.
I did not meet her.
I don't think so. We met a lot of. It's really cool in Oriental because
And her name
so
is-
many of the residents have just been all around the world.
Yeah.
And have ended up in this tiny little town no one's ever heard of on the ICW.
Yeah.
But we loved it there. We loved it also in
West Palm.
West Palm. I was gonna say the Waccamaw River.
Oh yeah,
Was really
Waccamaw's gorgeous.
beautiful.
Where
Nice
was
and
that?
deep. It's just south of Myrtle Beach and right before Georgetown.
It's just a gorgeous, peaceful river full of cypress trees and
it's 30 feet deep everywhere.
Yeah.
You'll never run aground.
it was just
Good
a
holding on
very,
the bottom.
very pleasant experience. But honestly, we didn't have a very good time in the ICW because our boat is horrendous for those conditions. I mean,
Yeah, we're just too deep and way too
we
slow.
ran aground almost every day.
Yeah, we'd be going along, the tide would go out, and we'd be in the channel and just come to a stop.
Yep.
And then,
It was like,
yeah, and it's just wait for the tide to come in to keep going. And,
It's
Georgia.
kind of close, for sure.
Yeah. Georgia was bad for that.
Oh.
And
we skipped
coming
Georgia.
into Charleston, I remember that Palm something or other coming into Charleston.
Oh,
we
we went outside.
at Georgetown,
Isle of
Yeah.
Palms.
came into Charleston, and then Charleston we went straight to the Fernie.
Charleston was great, but in Charleston's anchorage, we pulled up like 12 anchors.
Yeah, so the chain hooked around a death ball of an old mooring screw that had a bunch of anchors and chains on it.
Oh.
And it was
It was as big as me.
yeah, it was, so that whole mess, our chain wrapped around that at about 160 feet. So we still had 160 feet plus our anchor, and
Wow.
Yeah,
I wasn't
that
going to
was
lose
good.
our anchor, all that chain, so I just pulled it up onto the deck and then started unraveling it.
Ugh, it was
Oof.
gross.
Yeah, it was like I started pulling the anchor and I'm like, why is it so heavy? And I had to put the windlass in like low gear and like really crank. And then I saw this thing and I'm like, oh no. So I like hooked a rope through it and then attached it to a halyard and just cranked it up with the winch.
Yeah.
And then got our chain free.
Charleston was
Yeah.
great though.
I
Love
remember that
Charleston.
episode actually when you did that time there. So
Oh, really?
you guys went to the Bahamas. Where did you jump off from?
West Palm Beach
Yeah.
in Florida. We jumped off and crossed it. We were like really nervous to cross the
The Gulf Stream.
Gulf Stream, and it was fine.
Yeah, I had like a little freak out. Like, no, it's dangerous. We shouldn't go right now. And
But
Maddie,
it was all good.
gave me a stern talking to.
The
And then everything
Bahamas.
was fine.
Have you been to the Bahamas?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you feel about the Bahamas?
Oh,
Go ahead.
you go first.
Well,
We have different opinions.
we have
I think
different
a little
opinions,
bit.
yeah.
Okay.
I really liked the Bahamas. We left from No Name Harbor, bottom of Miami.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Yeah, and keep us
We
game.
jumped out to Bimini, and then we did Bimini and the Berries, and then went to the Exumas, and then up.
No, that's
to-
exactly what we did.
Yeah, and then we went up right
Well,
up to
yeah.
the Azores, and then from the
Okay.
Azores we jumped back across. Or not the Azores, the Abacos,
Abacos.
and jumped back across again. Yeah, but I really like the Berries.
The berries were lovely.
Yeah.
One problem we had with the berries was that a lot of them were privately owned by cruising companies,
Like cruise ships. The Great
Prin-
Stirrup and Little Stirrup.
Princess
Yeah, and
Prin-
Carnival.
and Carnival. Like we couldn't go on to a lot of the berry islands.
You were at the top, that a big stirrup,
Yeah.
a little stirrup.
Yeah.
We were there
Yeah.
too. We got told to go. We weren't allowed to take our dinghy to the land.
Right. Yeah,
same.
that's what happened to us. We were very disappointed.
The big lighthouses, the big round lighthouse, that island, that's Little Stirrup, or was that Big Stirrup?
House.
Don't remember it either.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you go around the backside though, on the east side of the Berries,
Yeah.
there's I think it's called White Key, and then beyond that is in that area is a place called Devil's Key.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we went there.
It's very remote. There's nobody there.
Mm.
And you would have to pick your days to get across the bar, but it is stunning
Oh.
to get into Devil's Key. I think we were looking at about 7 feet at the bar, but once you get across, you're in 15 feet of water.
Okay.
got
Okay.
A mile and a half of beach, and nobody's there. And we went with 4 other friends, like other boats.
Oh,
we met,
fun.
and we all hid
Yeah.
out there, and we spent, I don't know, a week and a half there.
10 days, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
Oh, that sounds
We had
idyllic.
Fires on the beach. It was beautiful.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fun.
So
That's fun.
I love the Bahamas. How do you guys feel about the Bahamas?
We were a little disillusioned by the Bahamas. I think there were
Well,
aspects that we really, really enjoyed,
the,
like
the snorkeling was amazing.
the snorkeling.
Like that is
Oh.
the best.
Incredible.
But then like the beach. So I expected white sandy beaches, not jagged rock beaches, and then I expected something on shore, not hurricane remains years later.
We really
So-
enjoy, like, I don't know, for some people, for a lot of people, their idea of paradise is like seclusion.
Oh, I like that though.
And yeah, for
Yeah.
me, I really like to go into a place and like experience the food and the town and the people and stuff like that. So the Bahamas were not really my thing because there wasn't like a community.
Yeah.
That
You know.
said, so my favorite part of the Bahamas was Staniel Key because you
Staniel
anchor
Key.
by big majors and
Yeah.
you have Cruises Beach, so you have friends.
Uh-huh.
All the food rots right away. Like the fresh produce is.
There's no produce.
Yeah.
You couldn't get
So-
food.
So we'd go to Staniel Key and get produce for that meal and then go back to the boat, and then you eat it or it rots by the next
It was just really expensive
But
for what you were getting.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so and everything was Sam's brand. It was the Kirkland. So it's like they just go to Florida in a speedboat, go to Sam's, and then come back and sell in the grocery store, and then it goes bad.
Yeah.
But so the land part, I didn't quite.
I didn't
Right.
love how there was just, it was basically just, it was like
Fake tourist.
fake
towns.
touristy stuff and then
Oh,
poverty.
sorry, I didn't hear that. What was that?
It was just like fakey kind of touristy cruise ship
Yeah.
stuff and then poverty. Like
Yeah.
that, there was no,
They kind of get robbed, don't they, of any kind of enterprise by these big cruise ship companies who even supply
yes.
the rentals for the kayaks and canoes. It's not fair. I think they actually even, like you said, own these islands, or at least rent them or lease them. And
Absolutely.
they don't give any enterprise to the locals. It's really, it's a shame, and it's robbery, actually.
Yeah.
It's inhuman.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. So that's
By
why
the
we
way,
were a little
did you guys want a little snack?
Oh,
You-
how kind
You're welcome.
and mean.
Just help yourself there, okay? Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Don't mind if I do.
Okay. Yeah. So, where did you jump off to Bermuda then?
We actually
Well, yeah. So
sailed back because we didn't want to, it was so expensive and we didn't want to just buy a bunch of rotting vegetables to take on our trip to Bermuda. So we actually went back
to Florida.
to Florida.
Yeah, West Palm.
West Palm, yeah, where we went to a supermarket and just like provisioned up. And then, so we hopped back off of West Palm to go to Bermuda
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
and had a terrible sail.
you guys did have, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you did have a little accident
Sorry, my
Oh,
Along-
yes.
the beach.
along the eastern seaboard, and can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we decided to go get some great spots on the beach before anyone else came out.
It was really embarrassing and stupid what happened. We, well,
Yeah. Well, all right. So our wind vane. All right. Well, we're heading south, and the Gulf Stream's really close to shore there. So we had to be really close to the beach.
Where was there, Herbie? Where was it?
Delray Beach.
we were right off of Delray
Florida.
Beach in Florida.
Yeah. So
And
like earlier, I was like, I don't like being this close because if anything happens, we're on the beach before we know it. And then yeah. So what happened was the wind vane's control line fell off, the one that pulls it to port. So the boat went starboard and couldn't correct and just went straight for the beach.
Oh,
and
no.
yeah.
Herbie had come down for like a second,
And then like there's the thud.
and all of a sudden
Like,
it was
oh,
not
no.
a thud. It was like a giant horrible bang. We thought we hit a whale because
Yeah.
we didn't know there was any way that we had turned.
Yeah. And then
And we looked out and just were on a beach.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying.
but it was hilarious though because the police were there because they thought we were a drug boat, like bringing drugs to shore.
Oh,
because somebody had seen us coming.
Well,
From-
and the nav lights were out there and
Yeah,
they just turned
from-
straight for the beach and just coming right in.
Oh,
And
Their apartment and
So we
had
got there, the
called.
cops were there and like, oh, and then they quickly realized, no, not a drug boat, just
So I
idiots.
made it on the news. Herbie was really smart, actually, quick thinking. He did not leave the boat. Otherwise, we would have lost the boat. So it became a salvage rather
No,
than,
well,
or
it would have been a salvage.
it would have
if
been a
I'd left,
salvage.
'cause
Yes.
we would have abandoned ship and then just a mess.
yeah.
So I got off the boat, was on the beach, and this is, one of the best things about cruising that we found is that in any of these circumstances, when we most need it, we just run into incredible kindness. And all these people just came flocking onto the beach. They were so concerned. And they brought me towels and food and like water. And I was like crying.
yeah.
And two women split a hotel room for us to stay the night after Herbie had gone through the rigmarole of being in the boat while it was towed off of the shore. And
That
it was just,
lovely.
it was like this really kind of silver lining of
Well-
experiencing the kindness of humanity through a horrible, horrible event.
And some real silver lining. So we had like 1,000,000 years worth of bottom paint on our hull because it's never been sanded down, and it was getting like it was falling off in pieces that were like between 5 to 6 millimeters thick. And I'd been thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have to sand this, and it got sanded on the beach. So when we
Really?
hauled out, it was like down to the gel coat. We're like, all right,
Oh, wow.
up the little air gets.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is what
Silver
you
lining, man.
Yeah.
That's a plus.
So out of that, we got a sanded hull and a bronze quadrant because our rudder quadrant cracked. as well.
Yeah, it did make so there actually was a surprisingly small amount of damage to the boat after it had been pounded into the beach a billion times.
Wow.
Was it
But the rudder
side?
quadrant broke.
Yeah, it was
What's
right
up?
over, yeah.
It was right on its side? On the
Oh,
beach?
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah. So, all right, so what happened was we were in the surf and we were sitting up on the keel, and then when the waves would go, we'd fall all the way over, smash, and then come back up. And I thought this is gonna wreck the like. It's
I
gonna crack.
thought I was sitting there on the beach just watching, like every time, just thinking, this is it. This is the time the boat just cracks in half.
Yeah. So I actually kept the sails up, and there was a onshore breeze, so it kind of like sailed us through the surf onto the beach, which made recovery even harder.
And it was
But
especially
It made us sit more
Yeah.
and not pound as hard.
it was especially emotionally devastating because we had spent a full year at that point getting ready to finally
Oh,
go
I
out
can't
into the
imagine,
ocean.
Maddie. I can't
do
imagine.
our trip. And like this was it. Like we were so close to actually getting somewhere.
Yeah, we were actually sailing to No Name Harbor to anchor there to
Yeah.
get ready to go.
Yeah.
when that
And
happened.
this happened, and it put us back like 3 weeks.
Yeah. So then when we got
It's been
towed to the
really
marina,
scary.
It was
Yeah.
it was horrifying. I was thinking, oh my gosh, all this time we spent all this time getting down here, and our trip is over.
yeah,
This is it.
it's like the boat's gonna wreck and
Yeah.
we're done.
We've lost our home. We've lost our plans, our dreams.
Yeah.
How did they
Not a
pull
great night.
How did they pull you off the beach? Like-
They tossed the line to the stern, and I walked it to the bow rail. Not to the bow rail, to the bow cleats, and he just yanked really hard. And
$10,000 worth of yank.
yeah,
Somebody
Really?
charged
yeah,
you?
yeah.
That was the thing. It was like, oh,
Well-
our entire cruising fund is blown.
Yeah. So the issue was, had we been in the ICW, it would have been a covered tow. But since we were oceanside, it was a salvage,
Yeah.
and then not covered.
It was not covered, but there was another example of someone's amazing kindness. Somebody did start a GoFundMe for me and for us, and we made a
It helped a good
nice
chunk.
nice
Yeah.
dent in
Wow, that's really
Which he,
the.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
you guys own 2 boats, eh? I just read that the other day.
Yeah.
Yes, it's because we're crazy.
Oh,
twice as
so
crazy.
you own a Whitby 30, or is it a?
it's
Close,
Albert 30.
close. It's an Albert 30,
Yeah, but it's built by Whitby.
built by Whitby.
Is
Yeah,
it built by
okay.
Whitby Boat Works?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, good.
yeah. In Canada.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I just know it's an
and
Albert
what,
30.
what year is that boat, Herbie?
66.
So
I like
I'll tell
really
you,
old boats.
I'm going to tell you something. This is our 6 degrees of separation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Whitby Boat Works is on Charles Street in Whitby, Ontario. And I wrote an article for Good Old Boat on the biography of Alan Nye Scott, who owned Nye Boat Works that built the 29 and the Whitby or the Albert 22. He built a bunch of boats anyway.
No.
But he was part of a group of sailors from the Royal Canadian Yacht Club that went to Whitby Boat Works, and they said, we'd like you to build us a boat. Would you do that? And he said, yeah, bring me a design and I'll do it. So they went to Carl Albert, and Al Scott did, and Al said, Carl, could you design us a boat, 30 feet long, full keel, blah, blah, blah. Carl said, yeah, but it's going to cost you $100. For $100, he designed the boat, and he gave it to Alan. Alan took it to the 6 other guys. And this is in 66 or 65. And he took it to 6 other guys. And those 6 guys all agreed to take a boat. They went to Whitby Boat Works and they built the boats. And right at the very end, Alan backed out. So long story short, your boat might have been the boat that was built for my friend.
It could have
It
been.
could have been. So how was the crossing?
Well,
The different stages.
yes. So
Benefit, how was the crossing?
I always
There
say
were
to go,
three-
"I'll fly."
there were 3 stages of the crossing, right? Bahamas to Bermuda. Absolutely terrible. We had crew that was very disrespectful.
We weren't gonna stop in Bermuda.
Yeah,
but
so
then
that's-
Bermuda had an airport, so we stopped in Bermuda.
And dropped him off.
Yeah.
Well, Deb, one of the reasons I asked you about your trip across the ocean, I'd like to cross the ocean. Debbie's a little bit fearful about crossing the ocean. And so this
Oh,
has
it's
been
the
a thing
safest
for us, right?
thing. Crossing the ocean is so much safer than going coastal because there's nothing to hit. Like you're totally peaceful because
It was so nice.
we saw 3 boats the whole time and they were all
Cargo ships.
like 2 were right when we left and 1 was right when we got there.
Yeah. And you have AIS
During
in your boat?
What's up?
You run AIS?
Yeah.
At the time, we only received. So we never visually saw these boats, but they were within 20 miles of us.
We saw them on the AIS.
Yeah. Since Portugal, now we transmit as well. And that's been really nice.
We
Like,
decided we needed to transmit for the Med because it's so highly trafficked.
yeah, like going through the Strait of Gibraltar was a dream because they saw us on AIS.
Yeah.
Like we were just going across and like I just stayed out of the separation zones. That way I didn't have to mess with that because I am nowhere near their speeds.
Yeah.
So we just avoided those areas, and then they just see that we're under sail, and a couple of them radioed and like, "Are you under sail or motoring?" We're like, "Nope, under sail." And they're like, "Okay," and they just went around us, and
Oh,
that
nice.
was
Yeah.
Oh,
But like
really
for
nice.
ocean, I mean, navigating,
it was so easy.
it's so you literally are like, okay, go east.
Yeah.
For like 3,000 miles.
Yeah,
Like-
North Star on your port side, and off you go.
so when you left, you said you went to the Azores. Then after the Azores, where did you go?
We had a terrible crossing over
Let's just
to
mention that.
so yeah, that like I said, 3 parts, right? So first part was awful. Second part, which was the long one, was wonderful. Third part was awful.
So, all right, so there's.
We went to sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt. We went to near Porto, Portugal. So very northern Portugal.
Yeah.
Mainland. And there's a reason that it's actually a very difficult crossing from the Azores to Portugal if you don't have a motor because you go straight through this
difficult
like
with a motor.
right. Well, you go straight through this like total doldrum area.
It's a high pressure system.
Yeah. So since we don't have a motor, we had to go around it. So we went this super long route.
Yeah.
Luckily Herbie's, okay, I'm going to brag a little bit right now. Herbie's navigation skills are awesome. And since he took certain things into account, he researches everything so much. So he knew that there's this very strong current along the coast of Portugal, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yep, that's it.
that always travels at that time of year, always
Oh,
travels.
it's year round.
Okay, always travels south. And so what people do is they go straight across that calm area and then they get taken south. So they always miss Porto.
Yeah, so what ends up happening, so there's the current and then there's also the Portuguese trades that blow north to south the same way. And the trades are like 20 knots of wind all the time. So people are going along, they cross the high pressure, and then they hit the current. So they turn up into the current. And now they're beating into a 20-knot wind.
And they just give up.
Wow, they
Like
get the crap beat out of them.
Delos.
Yeah, apparently Delos, when they left the Azores, was going to Portugal and then got beat up so bad they just went to the Canaries instead.
Because they didn't take into account what Herbie took into account.
Yeah, so,
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
so we sailed up from the
You go.
Azores, are like 38 or 40 degrees north.
Yeah,
They're
we
pretty
went
up there.
we went stupid north.
Yeah, we went up to 47 or 48 degrees.
We were
north.
like in line with Ireland.
Yeah, we were.
So
Yeah,
we were
so
like,
in February we rented a van and we're like, we'll drive through Europe, and we made it to Austria.
and then coronavirus hit and was like, you're not going anywhere.
Shut you right down. Yeah. So when this ends, which we're sure it's gonna, where are you guys
Yeah,
gonna go? What's next?
It all depends on Corona, honestly, because we had really big plans to right now be sailing to Italy and
Yep.
just northern Italy, and then sailing back along the southern French coast and Spain and all that to kind of work our way slowly but scenically back to Gibraltar, where we're gonna kick off to Cape Verde. But since obviously we can't go to Italy right now, we still plan on crossing the Atlantic back to the Caribbean in November. And that's the only thing that is kind of for sure right now, because we just don't know. It's really crazy over here for cruisers because you can't, once you leave a port, you can't enter
Any other port.
So it's actually really disappointing. I mean,
we were hoping to do the
a lot of
Baltics and
people,
stuff,
a
but-
lot of people have it worse than us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard to complain. In terms of our YouTube channel, we found that most of our popular videos are actually our how-to videos. And so we're going to continue with our other boat. We're going to do a whole refit.
Yeah, so I'm going to rebuild the Allberg and put an electric motor in it and pretty much like kit it out.
Yeah. It's going to continue to be a sailing channel, but it's going to be mostly how-to stuff. We
Or
are
like,
going to go
yeah,
out.
Chesapeake Adventures.
Yeah, we'll go out on it and everything. But the big draw, I think, to our channel is going to be like the how-to do-it-yourself kind of genre.
So listen, guys, we've got an hour and a half of video here. I'm gonna have to chew through.
Woohoo!
We can talk for days, I'm sure. Someday we hope to maybe have a non-virtual happy hour with you guys. We'd love to see you somewhere.
That would
in
be
your travels.
awesome.
And
Yes.
Maybe with some wee ones or something.
Ah,
on a trawler.
couple years.
Yeah.
Couple years.
On a trawler. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us, and
Oh, it
welcome
was our
to
pleasure.
anytime.
Thank you for the cheese.
Yes.
No
You're
problem.
welcome.
And you can bring your dinghy alongside Herbie,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, we'll
And I'll help you
get all
guys
over
get on
it.
board. And
Perfect.
we want to thank you very much for joining us, and we wish you.
It was great meeting you. Great talk. Yeah.
Have a
Thanks
good
so
one.
much. Thanks for having us aboard.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Stay safe.
Take care. Stay
All
safe.
right. You too. You too. That's strange.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't change when he left, though.
It was working so well the other day.
Talk to me.